Mission, I'm mission. Trying to get it right. Transition, changing the way that I see life. Transition mind. I'm on a mission, trying to get it right. I'm transitioning my life. Making a transition. Ooh, making a transition. Ooh, 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 ooh. Making a transition. Ooh, 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 ooh. Making a transition. I'm on a mission, I'm trying to get it right. Changing the way that I see life. Transition in my life. On a mission, on a mission, on a mission.
What's up? What's up? Alchemizing energy audience, there's a lot of things going on in the news, you know what I'm saying, online. You got UFOs, you got Jay-Z and P. Diddy. But we're taking like another approach to this. I wanted to invite my friend Alvin Booth because I have been seeing him on Facebook really giving people the business. He done lost so many Facebook accounts just giving people the business, you know what I'm saying? So I wanted to bring him onto the platform. What's up, Alvin? How you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you? Long time no see.
Long time, long time. Now Alvin is a DJ based in Texas. He how long you been DJing?
Since '89, since as long as I've been in Texas,
Right. So where are you from?
Gary, Indiana.
Oh, okay. Michael Jackson. You okay?
Yeah,
Michael Jackson's a hometown.
yeah.
So it was interesting because once I became friends with you, me being a DJ in Dallas, you were one of the few people, first DJs I met in Texas,
Oh,
in the
really?
house music scene. And it was
Okay.
interesting to find out once I like became friends with you on Facebook, all like the different stuff that you was always putting on there. I'd be like, man, Alvin, you're giving it to him all the time
Yeah,
about racism, about like, what the origins are. Now, you gave the title to this live. Okay, you said everyone or more by 2100. So why did you title this that?
just my um research, my consciousness. Let me see. Where do I start? With the whole the temperature heating up and they're trying to block out the sun. It has a lot to do with that. Metaphysically. You know, I've posted in the past that with the race and racism and the history origin of mankind stuff, the the temperature used to be like 160 degrees. That was like the normal temperature. And that's where all the ice age and all that stuff, the melting ice and stuff. And I'm big on geography and all the the earth sciences and stuff. And back when the world was all the continents were one, black people as we're called now, we were already here. So the continent shifted, the temperature kept changing, the magnetic poles switched, and you see now that they're worried about climate change, and that has a lot to do with the temperature, because fail melanated people, they can only live within the range of degrees. And if it gets too hot, and you have to read a lot of Malachi Z. York stuff, he said that, fail melanated people or white people, they're about to lose their minds. And you'll
So
see,
why would you so you talk about Dr. Malachi Z. York. Was Malachi Z. York, so is that what you follow? Is his teachings what you follow?
I follow everything. I've,
Okay.
I've, I've been a reader since kindergarten. I was knew about the Dewey Decimal System back in elementary school. So I've
Okay.
always been a reader. I read just about anything. And I used to I'll go so far like I've always been into the conspiracy theory thing because I used to attend before I moved here. Attended Indiana State University, and I had a African American studies teacher who he would book guests, and the guest speakers I saw Dick Gregory, Manning Marable, Hosea Williams. I, and so they kind of opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. And plus, growing up in Gary, because
Mhm.
Gary has always had a history of politics. With Richard Hatcher being one of the first black mayors in of a major city since um, Reconstruction or something like that. So I've
Hey,
always been.
Jackie.
Go ahead.
My moderator's here. I just want to say, hey, hey, listen, is there a possible way that you could like put your top light on so I could kind of see you as you talk? There we go. Okay, there we go. There you are. It was looking kind of just bleak and dark.
Yeah.
Um, so go ahead, continue.
So I've always been kind of an apolitical political person because growing up in Gary was kind of a trip. Like Gary has always been um, like desegregated to a point because the schools have always been like integrated to a point, and I've always had white friends, but there's always been an undercurrent of racism because when Richard Hatcher he was running for office, all the Democrats voted Republican because they didn't want a black mayor. But he won, and that started the great migration out of Gary by the majority of the white people, and they created all these suburbs outside of Gary because they didn't want to be I guess ruled by a black mayor, and so they divested all of their money out of the city, and that's one reason why Gary has become what it is.
The same thing happened to Detroit.
Yep. Yeah.
They had a riot when they had the riots. All the Jewish people and the Caucasians that like had land in Detroit, they moved out and they called it the White Flight.
Yep.
And they left all their property and moved out to the suburbs, leaving all this property and like abandoning everything. And so it made like a lot of blight over the years. So was Gary the same?
Yep. It was the same. It was the same. They just the white people were like, "Hey, we're getting out of town," and there's these satellite cities that sprouted up right outside of Gary, and so they took all of their money outside the city, and because black people were moving into parts of the city that were formerly were all white. Like I went to school from kindergarten to second grade with all black people, but we moved into a house into a neighborhood called Glen Park, and that was my first real interactions with white people. Like I had white friends, we would ride our bikes and ride around the city, but by the time high school hit, most of the white kids had disappeared. It's weird, and so just growing up in that environment, it made me think. And so by the time I went to college, I'm like, okay, something's different here. And so that's when I started like just researching about a lot of stuff. And then when I moved down here into Texas, and this is a whole nother culture, it's the same, but it's kind of different. It's nuances, and you have to
Oh
pick up.
yes, I'm from the Midwest too. There's a
Yeah,
big difference between Texas culture and Midwestern culture.
exactly. Yeah. The racism is the same, but it's different. And so I instantly picked up on that, even though like the majority of the people who I hang out with down here are white people. But the truth is the truth, and the truth has no color. But a lot
That's
of
the part that really drove like was like wow, you know what I'm saying? Because I met you in a predominantly white house scene,
yeah,
rave
exactly.
scene, and then I became friends with you as a DJ, and I'm seeing your Facebook. I'm like,
Yeah,
how are you putting all this stuff? So do the white people that you are dealing with that you know about from the DJ perspective see your Facebook
yeah.
profile, and are they like, it's still cool
Everything,
with it?
everything is public. I don't I used to post a lot on YouTube. I have a page on there, and I would just all the stuff that I would read. I would just post little statements or paragraphs with the source of the book that it's coming from, and I developed a little following there. And it's on a was basically a strictly whoever comes across my page, they'll find it. I never like advertised it or anything, but YouTube changed their algorithms, so I just screenshotted a lot of the posts on there, and I just have them in somewhere on my computer. But I've been doing this for like a long, long time. Like I met back in like the mid '90s, I met this older white guy who was like a survivalist type, and we would talk, and he hit me to a lot of the stuff that is now known as conspiracy theories, but a lot of it is coming out to be like real. All the Diddy stuff and all the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. I was reading about that back in the '90s. So, you know, I've been into it since, like I say, since my Indiana State days, because
Right.
listening to Dick Gregory speak, I'm like, wow, because he just opened up my mind. Same thing with Hosea Williams. He was Martin Luther King's right hand man, and they both stated that James Earl Ray didn't kill MLK, and I'm like, what? And so you just start researching, and you have two people who were good friends with MLK telling the same story, almost word for word, and that's where it really started. You know,
Mm.
so
When it really gets down to it, so I see that you put this title. What is the reason why you chose that title about Moor? Are you Muslim? Are you a Moor? Do you follow the moral science temple?
see, I study the Moorish Science Temple, but my research goes above that. Like I found this one site a few years ago, and I have it somewhere on my I posted all this stuff on Facebook. You know, People keep trying to say, well, more doesn't mean black and all of this stuff, but you melanin, what makes us our color, it basically is just a substance that manifests itself as black. And so there is some truth to us, the word black and more being synonymous with each other. But it all depends on, I guess, which era of time of history that you were brought up, and it's going to obviously the meaning is going to change from its original meaning. But I found this one website; it's not even up anymore. But I screenshotted the words. The word "more" just means man or woman or family or something like that, and it's real deep. And the origins are like African. Different groups, have a different word for it. But the interesting thing was in the article, or the listing of the meaning of the word, it said Borean, and you have to go back and study words. Borean or Hyperborean is Antarctica or the Arctic. And if you study like the Hitler and all that the Nazi stuff, they went up to the Arctic looking for the roots of humanity. And if you study deeper into the whole science of it, the Arctics were once tropical. And I watch movies differently, since I know this information. I researched this information. Watch the King Kong and Godzilla movies, the newer ones. They're in Middle Earth, and it's a tropical paradise. And King Kong, he's been symbolic of us
Somebody
Moors.
must be calling them. So
Yeah.
I want. Oh, somebody must have called. You gotta put your thing on do not disturb.
When on my phone.
Yeah, put on do not disturb. But yeah, you were saying about the Moors, and you were talking about how like the connection to words.
Yeah.
That's like some of the biggest things that people don't understand: semantics, words, how words mean different things. English language is a forked tongue, and that's one of the things I always saw on your things on Facebook, how you would connect the words and actually break them down.
Yeah. 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 And it's crazy. You have to understand the etymological origin of the word, because the definition or the meaning that we currently use isn't necessarily the origin of the word. It's the same
So
thing.
let's talk about the word black. What is the origin of the word black?
See, you have to go back and look at um, the medieval and before that time. I call it the place of the division, because black and white, they once meant the same thing, and they just, whenever, they always speak of, the blacks and the whites, we were at war with each other, and whenever they gained power, they just assumed our identity, because if you have a book, it's called Gold, and it just talks about, it's a coffee table book, and it's about the African gold. But that definition, the Moors in Africa, they called themselves white, but it all comes from the word blanc and black or whatever, and one definition means white and one means black, but they're all the origin of the word black is it's the exact same thing. At some point in time, which I call the place of the division, they just switched it, and it all deals with it goes with the whole Freemason like Shriner thing. Like like there's a magazine I found on archive.org, and it's called the Crescent magazine, and they have Shriners who are in their lodge and they have blackface on, and that deals with my everyone or more by 2100. Like they talk about blackface, but the blackface is symbolic of them pretending to be us, and that's been going on since medieval times, and it all goes back to the psychological thing. They mimic us. I call it mummers mimicking Moors, and
Mm.
mummer is a medieval term which means to mimic, basically, and that's what they were like the British the Moorish dance. They've always been imitating us, because from my research, they want to be us.
So I want to show you something that's really, really interesting. I saw, and it's a guy named Chase Hughes, and I think that I've been really influenced by the work that he's been doing, and I want
Yeah.
to see what you think about what he. Have you ever heard of him, Chase Hughes?
Uh-uh.
He's an ex CIA agent. He was talking about Psyops, psychological operations, right?
Yeah.
And I thought what he said here was very interesting on how to recognize a psyop. Okay, so let's look at it.
Ask yourself this one question right here. Are multiple outlets parroting the exact same language? If you see that shit going down, you need to be very terrified that something's going into your brain that doesn't belong there.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media
are true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Psyops use coordinated messaging to reinforce a narrative. So look for phrases that feel copy and pasted, like unprecedented threat or undeniable evidence. Those little phrases, you're going to hear them. You will start to hear these everywhere you look. And the moment you hear copy paste phrases, that is a psyop.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that. If you notice,
That was creepy. Oh my god.
yeah, if you notice, politicians, they'll keep repeating phrases and words like Trump. He keeps repeating the whole criminal, like they're criminals, they're murderers, and after a while, people will start believing that, which is what you're seeing now. Like
Oh, do you think that the current situation with the UFOs and all the stuff like that is a psyop?
yeah, of course. And if you notice,
I was saying I think it's actually just like a regular military operation. You know what I'm saying?
well, that's
That
what
they're
SAP is a military operation, and they're planning on something, but you can just, well, I guess us being just regular people, we don't know exactly what, but you can train yourself to be aware of what's going on. Like I posted something earlier today about the drones, and if you notice, what was that that Spider-Man movie, Close to Home or whatever, the one with home in the middle, in the title or whatever, the main subject matter were drones.
Hmm.
So I always say that, since the military, they are spending a lot of money to put stuff into movies, and a lot of it a lot of people don't really understand what's going on. But all Hollywood blockbusters are just, basically a vehicle for psyop operations for the military.
Hmm.
If what is it, what was it, the Avengers, the one where they had the hovercrafts or whatever, and they were like about to shoot everyone or kill everyone who was against the agenda of Hydra. The hovercrafts were just drones, basically, because they're militarizing the drones, and who's not to say that the drones that everyone's seeing there just getting ready to kill people,
Mm.
because the inauguration is coming up, and like what Trump is talking about, put all of his people who were against him, put them in jail. That's the whole scenario with the Avenger movie, to eliminate the ops, I guess, or everyone who's against Hydra or a threat.
So let's talk about like some of these movies and how they actually like will connect to what's going on in modern day life.
Okay, just watch the event. Like okay, let's start with Captain America. Like I did some research on the whole opioid thing, and back in World War II, the Germans, they developed the whole meth thing, and they were trying to make super soldiers. And so a lot of the pilots and soldiers or whatever, they started giving them drugs, and the U.S. started giving the drugs to the U.S. soldiers, and the same thing with the Japanese, because America has always been on some kind of prescription drugs, like white Americans. Like the first meth epidemic was like back in the 20s or 30s or whatever. And so they started getting the population on drugs. And when World War II started, they were developing these meth-based drugs to create like a super soldier. And when the war was over, the U.S. soldiers were hooked, and they just introduced it to the general population. And
From
that's
what I understood, the meth came from actual Germany.
yeah,
That's what they give it.
yeah.
So they just brought it over to America and was giving it to their soldiers as well.
Yeah, but that's the thing. There's no opposition, because you remember once the war ended, the German soldiers were brought over to the United States or whatever, and they were working for NASA. Gave them pensions and everything. There is no bad or good, and that's another thing that's in the Avengers movies, the Marvel movies. Whoever you think is good is actually bad, and
Wow, was that what their move? That is that what Marvel is really saying? That the person that you think is
well,
good is
with the Avenger movies, because you had Hydra, and they were part of hidden within the the good guys, but they were just a group. Hail Hydra and all that stuff. They were pretending to be good guys, but it turns out that they were trying to you know undermine the regular government. That's what that was all about. And the same thing with Captain America. Captain America represented all the soldiers they were giving the drugs to make them super soldiers.
wow. And
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
and they show this. What do you think about the Simpsons and how like they're showing stuff? Do you think that this is what I know. Like I want to see if you think the same thing. Because I believe that the CIA actually well, I know that the CIA actually allows people to come to certain like remote sites, Air Force bases, to show them how to put certain things into movies to make it more authentic and also to represent their interests. So, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. Like and I posted it on Facebook earlier. The They have military advisors. They're on the sets of the Hollywood movies when they're in production, and they're just guiding them. Okay, this is authentic and this isn't. But who's to say that they're not actually like rewriting the scripts to, for putting it in public for public opinion? They're just basically all these blockbusters. They're just mouthpieces for the government and what they're planning on doing. It's like psychological operations. That's all that is. You think that, wow, it can't happen, but then again, a few years later, it will happen. Like what is it? Those White House Down and all those other movies. What they're in the White House and they take over the White House. Wasn't that like the Capitol uprising with those guys?
Yeah, and you know what? It was also Black Hawk Down. They was a part of Black Hawk Down. Also,
Yeah.
with Tom Cruise, that whole Top Gun, the CIA was a part of that. I'm
Yeah.
gonna show a video real quick about how the CIA has a very big part in Hollywood. Let's check this out.
All right, folks, let's talk about the CIA, not the cooking show, the Central Intelligence Agency. Yes, those guys. Turns out they've got a thing for Hollywood. And no, I'm not talking about a secret agent falling for a glamorous actress. This is about power, influence, and using movies to win hearts and minds. Picture this: the Cold War. America versus the Soviet Union, a battle of ideologies, but instead of tanks and missiles, they're using movies. Back in the day, the CIA was worried about those sneaky Soviets spreading propaganda. So what did they do? They went straight to the source, Hollywood. They placed undercover agents in studios, keeping an eye on those suspicious left-leaning artists. They wanted to make sure America looked good on the big screen. The whole land of the free, home of the brave image. And it wasn't just about stopping the Soviets. The CIA wanted to promote their own message. They wanted to show the world that America was cool, man. So they started working with filmmakers, whispering in their ears, suggesting storylines. It was like having a secret agent as a script consultant, and you thought your job was stressful. But hey, it wasn't all serious business. There were some hilarious moments too, like the time they tried to make a James Bond-style movie about a group of anti-communist Lithuanian sailors. Let's just say it didn't exactly set the box office on fire. But hey, you win some, you lose some, right? Even when you're a top-secret government agency. Now, you might be thinking, Trevor, how did the CIA get away with this? Well, my friend, they're sneaky like that. They knew that Hollywood was all about connections. So they started rubbing shoulders with the big shots, producers, directors, even actors. They even set up a special office for this. Yep, the CIA has an entertainment liaison office. It's like a Hollywood talent agency, but instead of finding the next Brad Pitt, they're looking for movies that make America look good. And let's be real, who wouldn't want to brag about working with the CIA? It's like the ultimate conversation starter at a Hollywood party. One of their biggest successes, Top Gun. Remember that classic? Tom Cruise, fighter jets, volleyball, pure American awesomeness. Well, guess who helped make it happen? The CIA. They provided jets, consultants, even access to their top secret bases. And why? Because nothing says America is back, baby, like a bunch of fighter jets doing barrel rolls. But it wasn't just about making America look tough. The CIA also wanted to shape how people saw them. They were tired of being portrayed as the bad guys, the villains lurking in the shadows. They wanted to be the heroes, the ones saving the day. And what better way to do that than through the magic of movies? Now, the CIA didn't just work with anyone. They had a knack for picking projects that would be huge. We're talking blockbusters, baby. Movies that everyone and their grandma would see. Movies like Argo, Zero Dark 30, even The Recruit. All of these films had a little bit of CIA magic sprinkled in. And let's not forget about TV. The CIA has been all over the small screen too. Remember Homeland? That show about a CIA officer who also happens to be bipolar? Yeah, the CIA loved that one. They even consulted on the show, making sure it was accurate. Or at least as accurate as a show about a bipolar CIA officer can be. But the CIA's involvement wasn't always a secret. Sometimes they were quite open about it. Like when they worked with Tom Clancy, the author of The Hunt for Red October and Patriot Games. Clancy was a former insurance salesman who knew a surprising amount about submarines and espionage. Some say he was a little too knowledgeable, if you know what I mean. The CIA even recruited celebrities to help with their missions. And yep, You heard that right. Movie stars, musicians, even athletes. These weren't your average spies, though. They used their fame and influence to gather intelligence, spread propaganda, and generally make the CIA look good. It was like a real-life spy thriller, but with better hair and wardrobe. Now, the CIA's reach wasn't limited to just movies and TV shows. Oh no, my friends, they were down with the groove too. During the Cold War, they realized that music could be a powerful weapon. Think about it. A catchy tune, a message of freedom and hope, all wrapped up in a neat little package. It was the perfect way to counter those dreary Soviet anthems. So what did they do? They went straight to the heart of American culture, jazz. They funded jazz tours, sent musicians like Dizzy Gillespie and Louis Armstrong all over the world. These jazz ambassadors weren't just playing music, they were spreading the gospel of American freedom, one note at a time. But it wasn't just jazz. The CIA also dabbled in other genres. Some say they even had a hand in the rise of rock and roll. Think about it. Elvis Presley, Chuck Berry, all that hip-shaking and rebellion. Was it just teenage angst, or was the CIA subtly undermining the Soviet Union's strict social norms? I'll let you be the judge. The CIA even had their own radio station, Radio Free Europe. They broadcasted Western music and news into communist countries, offering a glimpse behind the Iron Curtain. Of course, the Soviets weren't too thrilled about this. They tried to jam the signals, but the CIA always found a way to get their message through. Because when it comes to the power of music, you just can't stop the beat.
Okay. I don't have any qualms about that. Have you ever ever heard or read a book? And I posted on Facebook a lot. It's called Transformation of America.
No, I haven't. What is that about?
Well, it's about MK Ultra sex abuse survivor. Her name is Kathy O'Brien. Like the one guy I told you who was like the survivalist, this older white guy. He gave me a copy of the book, and it just details like all the stuff that the government has been doing from her time. She grew up in like Gerald Ford is the first president that she names as a sexual abuser of her up until the Clintons, and it just tells you it's a template for like the Jeffrey Epstein and Diddy stuff. It goes into that. It talks about mind control, and a lot of it. If you read the whole thing, it tells you about all the stuff that's going on right now. But this book, it was published back in 1996 or 97. You can find it on archives.org, but I have a physical copy of it because it was strictly for the conspiracy theory crowd. And you can go on find her Kathy O'Brien's videos on YouTube, and she said like whoever was in go like at the time like she names George Bush, Dick Cheney, people in sports, entertainment. She names Bob Hope and all those guys. They're all part of this whole, New World Order, MK Ultra government conspiracy.
So what do you think it is? What do you think it is about like this whole thing where it comes to kids?
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
well, the thing is they have the money and they have the time. So a lot of it has to deal with power. It's like the Bohemian Grove thing. Like they have power, but they want even more power, which is why you see these guys talking about blocking out the sun. It's crazy, they're just megalomaniacs. But that even goes back to my Everyone and More by 2100. This white supremacy, New World Order stuff is finite. And that's the thing. Good will always conquer evil, but you have the evil to balance out the goodness, which is, part of the whole religious thing. The God, Jesus, the devil, and all this other stuff. But their thing, their power is finite because eventually, this is just me speaking, good will overcome the evil. It's the basis of every religion out there. You can't have one without the other.
So, what do you think about Elon Musk being like installed into the government?
Yeah, that's another thing. That's telling you right now that the whole globalist, and that's part of you have to read the Transformation of America. It was TRANCE, Transformation of America. And she talks about that. And like, it's a globalist government that's been talked about in conspiracy theory circles for ages. Same thing with the money. Like, my mom had some old coins, and I took her to the collectibles place to see if they were worth anything. And the guy said, like, we can't take coins anymore. Like, no one takes coins anymore. You can just use them as like just toys for kids. And that he told us, he was talking about Bitcoin and all this other stuff. He was like, well, that's where it's going to. We're in a cashless society. And
Man, I remember when they were trying to get everybody to buy those gold coin or nickel plated silver coins.
Yeah.
Back in like the early 2000s, they were saying, well, the currency's about to be whatever.
Yeah.
And so you got to buy these coins to be able to blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now everything's about to become digitalized. And so all those people that bought that are now sitting up there with wasted money.
See, then they're the ones who are the manipulators, the marionette, controllers. They know what's going on. So they're trying to get whatever they can. Okay, well, we're about to switch over to digital and now Bitcoin, and I think that Bitcoin is just it's just a conveyor to something different.
You know what I think Bitcoin is? Remember when everybody turned in their gold and they made the paper currency? What they're going to do is have everybody turn in their bank accounts and their dollars into Bitcoin. And then the thing is that the thing that's scary about Bitcoin is like it's all based in it's all virtual. So if those things break down or that system breaks down, you've lost everything.
Exactly. And they have the power. They control things from that end. They want everyone to invest in this new technology without, okay, well, what's the fail safe?
There is no fail safe.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. But
if it's all digital, it can all be hit by like hackers. We're constantly being like attacked by hackers and things like that. I mean, things are going down. So why would you want to put all your money into a currency that could easily that someone can like attack the computer and then your money's gone?
Yeah, just think, about social media, like who actually controls social media. Everyone's investing in it. They have a page or they're monetizing their site. But what happens if that gets hacked, or if whoever controls it says, okay, well, you don't have an account anymore? Because just last week I posted, it's been on my Facebook for ages, and I got the image from a Facebook group. It was approved, and they said, well, it has nudity and sexual content. I'm like, well, I got it from Facebook. So they'll, from time to time, they'll come to my page and they'll like ban me or censor me and tell me, okay, well, you can't do this. And that's like a warning. But who's to say that at some point, since I post all of this information, that we're sick of this shit, and they just delete my entire page because they've taken down entire posts of mine. And now they don't even warn me. They just take it down. That's how much control, or we allow them to have control over us. And everybody think, oh, this is a good thing. It's, making me money, but they control everything.
Well, I was saying too on my live this morning, I was saying, you know what, even with this drone situation, the government ain't gonna tell you when they're doing exercise, right? They're gonna just do it, and then you're gonna be like, what the heck's going on, right? So they had all these drones all over the place, like while they're doing this military exercise. Didn't say nothing to anybody because they want to get a real reaction. And then they do a lot of things like this, right?
Yeah,
and so they get the. Go ahead.
There's a conspiracy theory. I can't think of the name. Little manual I've had since I started getting into this with my older white friend back in the '90s, and they call it economic shock testing or whatever. And they'll put something out there to gauge the public reaction, and that'll tell them, okay, well, this is what we're going to do next. And a lot of it has to do with like banking and like this whole inflation thing. They keep telling you, well, inflation this, inflation that, and then they're gauging the public's reaction, and then they'll just adjust everything accordingly.
Create inflation or not, based on
Yeah.
what people are doing.
Like you remember back during COVID, everyone was stockpiling toilet paper,
yeah.
and they studied human behavior. And like, okay, why are they doing this? Why are they stockpiling toilet paper of all things? And that was an economic shock test. And then they just gauge, okay, well, they're doing this. We just do this. What is it? It's a Hegelian dialectic. They create the problem, and then you get a reaction, and then they offer the solution.
And the solution usually comes in a law or something that's going to take some level of like freedom.
Yeah, take your rights away or whatever, but they don't take them. You're giving them away. It's like with the whole vaccine thing. They kept telling you that you have to take the shot when there's no law. And I did the research. I would study. I'm like, there is no law that says you have to take a shot. But people were scared, and so they let some stranger. They let some stranger who set up a kiosk on the side of the highway. They didn't even know their name. Let them shoot them in their arm with some kind of substance that they had no idea what the ingredients were, out of fear.
So we're not gonna call it what it is. We're gonna call it something else because we on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? There's like restrictions on certain conversations.
Yeah.
But so
you can't tell the truth. You have to hide the truth behind the lie. But people are so dumbed down now, I guess, that they don't think for themselves. They would rather let the authorities think for them. What's crazy is, everything's expensive, but you go to McDonald's and you can get 5 for $5. Okay, so you think you're eating something good for you when that stuff is toxic, but it's cheap, so you're thinking you're getting a bargain.
Honey, I heard somewhere that even hot dogs are made of human flesh or some kind of crazy stuff. It's a lot. There's a lot of information out there that's saying a lot of different stuff. What do you think about the TikTok ban? Do you think that's going to go through?
See, that's another, Hegelian, you offer the product and get everyone hooked on it. And then you're going to say it all of a sudden it's bad and try to take it away. And so, social media is so ingrained into society. It's like the web of society or a tentacle of it that people are going to get all upset. You can't take my TikTok away when they're manipulating, controlling things from all ends. I don't even have TikTok. I'm like, well, when does it end? They had Friendster back in the day, and then MySpace, and then Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X or whatever it is called now, and now you have the TikTok. It's just another diversion. But that's what people want. But that's what they're telling you that you want. You want another social media platform. So they'll give it to you, and then they'll take it away from you. And then you'll fight to have it back. You'll kill someone over it.
Do you think that possibly they want to control the ability for people to make money, and they don't want it to be in another like nation's hands about the money being made is going to China, and they want to be able to monopolize off that, so they're going to get rid of TikTok and then put like another company in place that's similar to TikTok. But the thing is, the algorithm won't be the same. So what do you think?
Well, first off, there is no money out there, like the dollar bill or whatever. There hasn't been any money circulating since like the 30s. People think that it's money, but it says it on your dollar bill. You can't. It's a promissory. It's not even a promissory note. It's just legal tender, because the dollar you used to be able to turn your dollar in and get gold back, but they took the United States off the gold standard, and they replaced the money with this piece of paper that's not worth anything. It's what.
So are we now so why is that? What is backing gold? Backing the dollar now? Is it just us as human beings?
It's the debt. That's why you notice they keep calling you a taxpayer and a consumer. That's because you're a consumer. You're not producing anything. And these whole trade tariffs, they're raising the price on stuff, and people don't have any real money anyway, because the only real money or currency is actual gold. That's why they have the gold locked up. You have a note that isn't worth anything, and it's backed by the debt. That's why debt keeps going up and up and up, because that's what your so-called money is tied to. And that's why, like right now, they want you to buy, because you're just feeding the machine. But a lot of people, they don't realize that, but that's where we're at. You're under a mind control. When you say money, there is no money.
So what do you think is going to happen with the AI and how we are as a society? Because now, if you know there's no money now, what the heck happens when there's really no money and everything is like ruled by
maybe that's where in the conspiracy theory world, they were always talking about FEMA and the coffins that they have, made up for people. That's the same thing with the Avengers. They're from the conspiracy theory world. They're going to have to kill off a portion of the population in order to maintain control. If you haven't been following, but the European or white population, they're at zero and negative population growth. So what that basically means, white people are dying out, and so they're living in fear. I was read in last week's New York Times that in parts of the country, and I've known about it for the past few years, that maternity wards and hospitals across the country are closing up because there aren't any more children being born. And it's the same
in America, or just third world countries?
I'm talking about westernized, European-based, Christianity-based countries like the United States and basically every nation in Europe. I posted something or reposted it last week that Israel has been at like negative population growth since like 1982 and 1984. It's so bad there that the parents of the soldiers, the male soldiers, they're having their sperm saved because they're trying to perpetuate their bloodline.
So what do you think is going to happen? Do you think they're really trying to cut? Because I know back in the day they were talking about like cutting down the population, getting it down to like about 100,000 people. Do you think it's still in play, or do you think they realizing, oh man, we made a mistake, or what?
Well, what do you think the COVID vaccination? More people are dying from symptoms of the vaccination than the so-called COVID-19 disease. Why do you think they wanted everyone to get vaccinated? It's a biological weapon. So they can basically push a button or whatever and you can fall dead. And I post on Facebook has to do with 5G, because remember 5G technology and COVID, and they were like racing neck and neck. They all came out at the same time. And what is the name of that movie? Kingsman. And Samuel L. Jackson's character was Valentine. His character was named Valentine. He was playing Elon Musk. And he's trying to get everyone to sign up to this worldwide program or whatever in order to control the world. In the church scene, when they activated the cell phones, everyone started killing each other. That's what is this Skylink or whatever?
Right.
They're up in the satellite or whatever. Is
So
everything? Go ahead.
So what's interesting is that Google just came out with this a chip, right? And it's called like a quantum computing chip.
Yeah,
And what they said is that with this chip, they can compute over 5 minutes something that would take 100 million years to compute normally. And what they're doing is that they're using parallel universes to attach to other computers to actually be able to make this chip faster. What do
yeah.
you think about that?
That's that's what virtual reality is. They're trying to make virtual reality a reality on this plane. You know,
Do you think that parallel universes exist, or do you think that they're just able to manufacture a fake parallel universe, recreate it, and then make the chip more powerful based on creating their own parallel
well,
universe?
again, that's one of the subjects of the quantum realm in the Marvel movies, and it's the same thing with what is it, King Kong and Godzilla, like Inner Earth or whatever. That's basically a parallel universe.
Doctor Who was it? Doctor is it Doctor Who?
Doctor
No,
Who, Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange. He
Yeah,
talked about that in multiverse.
yeah,
Even you talked about you had like a Spider-Man with the multiverse.
yeah. Exactly.
People are not really. It's crazy because when you go on YouTube, and I can like open up my own YouTube and show you how everything is being flooded with just basic information about stuff. No one is really talking about deep conversations about what is really going on.
Yeah,
And it's being flooded with this distracting stuff, right? But
yeah,
meanwhile, you have Google coming out with quantum chips that's saying that it's like connecting to the multiverse, and no one's saying nothing.
yeah. That's because everyone's concerned about and that's Trump is there for a reason about inflation, this and my food is that. Like he said that okay, you vote for me, I'm going to do something about this expensive food. Then he says, well, I really can't do that. So people minds are somewhere else. So what they're doing, they're putting all the information out. Okay, this is what's going to happen, and no one's paying any attention to it. Like these drones, that's information that's been out there for decades, but it was conspiracy theory. And like I said, they control the input and they can control the output. And they telling you, well, don't listen to these conspiracy theorists. They're crazy. But now, as you say, they're talking about quantum chips and all this other stuff. Multiple universes, and universes within universes. And also that was in what's the movie about they were like police officers for the galaxy. Will Smith. What was the name of that movie? They were like and they had Earth was like
Men in Black.
Men in Black. Yeah, remember they had that was about the basically the multiverse or the inner universes.
So I wanted to show one of your posts. You said I've stated for years that the USA is in the smack dab in the middle of World War III with China, but many didn't take me seriously. Again, this is not just Trump. The Democratic Party and the Republican parties are partners. They are profiting by profiteering, chaos, and disorder. And you're showing that drones spotted near at least 17 military bases on December 18th. At least 17 military bases adjacent to Chinese-owned farmland across the U.S. have experienced a rash of drone sightings in recent weeks.
Yeah,
And they're sitting right next to military bases, right?
yeah. But the thing is, people aren't paying any attention to the Chinese, buying up all the farmland.
Yeah, and I talked about that. I've been on several different panels talking about the fact that they're buying up all the farmland. And I'm like, okay, so you're wondering where these drones are. All they got to do is ship them over piece by piece.
Yeah,
And then you had like a influx of Chinese people coming in through the border. You don't know what they were bringing with them when they came, or they
yeah,
might be just drone operate. A lot of people that was coming over were very educated Chinese. They were not stupid, right?
yeah.
So
Exactly.
now all of a sudden you have all these drones. Now I think that the drones are not China. There might be some, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
but for the most part, I think that was a military thing. You know what I'm saying? It was a military operation that was created to test out drones. And I believe that what they're going to do is create laws to make it so that, and to divide the airspace to say that if you drive a drone in this thing, you have to be like registered, da da da. But they needed like a whole event to happen and
Yeah,
put fear and to like get people to say, oh yeah, we need to have laws because that drone could fall on my house, or I don't know
yeah,
who's doing that, right? So the more that they put fear into us, then they say, oh, okay, well now we need to make laws. I'm scared. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah. But that's just one aspect of it. They're working all angles. I guess a lot of, like I say, a lot of it has to do with control and power. You know, that's you know, at first, you know, Donald Trump said he didn't want to be president, but now all of a sudden, after that show, You're Fired, whatever it's called, he was on. They looked at the numbers. Well, you can run for president. And I happened to watch Sports Center this morning, and Stephen A. Smith, he was saying that he is considering running for president in the next election.
What?
Yeah, he's
Stephen A. Smith, a sportscaster, is going to run for president for what?
well, you have Donald Trump as president, but that's the thing. Like he's been on a couple of I saw him on one of the MSNBC or one of those shows talking politics a while ago, and then it was like last year or earlier this year he was saying that he thinks he could run for president. See, things are crazy.
So who is the Chinese tycoon that Donald Trump's son-in-law met with? So you have that Donald Trump's son is meeting with Chinese tycoons. It's a lot of weird stuff going on, you guys.
Yeah,
Chinese hackers target Trump's son-in-law's call, text, data report. And recently they were actually putting a thing out there saying, do not send text messages between iPhone and Samsung.
yeah.
China owns 380,000 acres of land in the U.S. Here's where. I mean, we need to be aware, you guys. We were up here just talking about stupid crap like who P. Diddy was doing it to, but all this stuff is going on.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
this is another thing that I've posted, like back during the COVID thing, the pandemic, the shutdown, and a lot of areas where Black people live, like they're food deserts. They don't have any access to grocery stores or anything like that. And I stated on Facebook that,
And I'm sure the soil is not even worthy of even being able to plant anything too, because they probably destroyed the soil too.
like we're going to be in such a situation where it's going to come a time whenever this stuff does go on, they can deny Black people, so-called Black people, access to the stores. And we don't own any farmland. Like, they took all of our farmland, or we sold our own farmland. We're going to be SOL. We don't have any manufacturing.
Let's talk about that selling of the farmland, that huge selling of the farmland that happened within the Black community of the farmers. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, but that goes back to, this is why I talk about Moorish things. We have always been agricultural in nature, and if you research a lot of the so-called Indian tribes, they were agricultural. They grew stuff, and in the history books that are outside of the stuff that they teach in school, the Indians were agriculturalists. They grew plants and stuff like that. So if you think about it, the slaves were so-called slaves from Africa were put on the plantations, and they grew the crops. But they say that the slaves were from Africa, and they ended up in plantations in the South or whatever. But who taught them the knowledge to actually grow and cultivate and maintain the crops here in the United States? Because they were different than in the so-called West Africa. So
Right. How did they like be able to just know how to like farm the land in a whole nother land?
exactly, and that's
You're already.
well, people don't think about it. The so-called African slaves were actually Native Americans who were us.
Mm.
Because if you think about it, what the people who you think are Indians, what were they growing? Like they always say that they were running around with horses. They were nomads. So the people who were already here, who knew the agricultural stuff, that was us. Because you have your in the South, if you have relatives in the South, they always knew how to grow and pick grains and peas and stuff like that. Like where did all this knowledge come from? And I got this from a census. It was from like a 1906 census report, and it says right there, and I have it highlighted that there were Negroes or Negroes who only speak Indian languages. I'm like, well, if they were African, how did they?
When you say Indian language, you mean native or like Indian?
Yeah, native languages.
Okay.
It is a 19 I think a 1906 U.S. it was a report originating from the U.S. Census, and it says, and I have it highlighted, we're often met with Negroes who only speak Indian languages. So you say that you have these Africans who came on a boat from Africa, who unlearned their native African language, learned English, somehow ended up in an Indian territory, learned the African or the Indian languages, and can't speak English or their native African tongue.
Hmm.
And a lot of people don't realize that, but the so-called Indian tribes were they're the Africans or so-called Africans. You have to do a lot of research. And one book that I have is deals with like the subject of Indian women in the Illinois territory, or all the way stretching from Indiana on down to Louisiana. But what they did was they took the African women, or the Indian women rather, and just shipped them down, throughout, the Tennessee and all the Illinois, Mississippi, shipped them down there, and then I guess whatever way they became black, and they shipped a lot of them down to the Caribbean. There's also King Philip's War. That was like in the 1600s, 1700s, but they were warring with the Indian tribes. They eventually beat the Indian tribes, and all the ones that they didn't kill, they enslaved them on the coast and down south, and shipped a lot of them to Haiti and the Dominican Republic.
So I see this thing, Treaty of Peace and Friendship in 1787 between Morocco and the United States.
And then,
can you talk some more about that?
well, you have to go to the. It's a thing about Texas. Keep going. Right there. That talks about how Texas is Moorish land, and they talk about whatever division south of whatever is for the Mauritanian races, and that the Moors are us.
Mm.
And go a couple of more. I have it highlighted, and if you want to read that, starting there.
Yes. The stupendous deserts between the Nueces and the Bravo rivers are the natural boundaries between the Anglo-Saxon and the Mauritanian races. Mauritanian races. There ends the Valley of the West. There Mexico begins. Thence beyond the Bravo begin the Moorish people and their Indian associates, to whom Mexico properly belongs, who should not cross that vast desert if it ends there.
Okay.
If they could, as we on our side too, ought to stop there, because Insurmountable conflicts must ensue are going south. Now, what book is this?
It's not a book. It was read in Congress, I believe. It's like
Oh, this was this was read in Congress?
I believe so. Yeah. Just go back to the first. Yeah, read. Okay, read that. Okay, read. And I've actually seen this from. This is a illustration from an old history book, like an archaeology.
Incredible explanation. Okay, the Lost Histories of America.
Yeah.
Incredible explanation of the mystery of Stonehenge. The Appalachian Indians are said to have erected altars and to have massed heaps of stones wherever they founded colonies, and they must have carried with them the religion of their races. In the great work of the Picard, from which these extracts are taken, there is a picture of another Virginian idol. A copy it is here presented for study. Virginia Indian God of the Winds. Yeah.
Okay, keep reading. There you go.
I'll go to the. So here's a black man, yet he has not Negro features. He is well dressed. Then he holds in his hand a very fine specimen of Negro's head, about which there can be no mistake. He is called God of the Winds, and he holds in his hand the symbol of navigation. But who is he? From what harbor did he set sail? The question that is easily answered from his features and color. He comes from Africa. But is it possible that the Virginian Indians had intercourse by navigation with Africa, and that before the arrival of the Europeans races, one is at liberty to hesitate before reaches that conclusion, before he reaches that conclusion? But why should he be called the God of Virginian Indians? The sudden appearance of this African navigator in the lodges of Virginia Indians acts as a stimulative thought. So yeah. So
they're speaking in code right there. They're like, where did he come from? He came from Africa, but Africa is here.
And what's this? Okay, and these are the pictures of the African Indian.
Yeah, see, one says an emblem of America, which is a black man, and then one says an emblem of Africa, which is a black man.
So did you hear about like even how the movie Wicked is really about the Queen of Columbia? The Wicked Witch of the West is like the Queen of Columbia. California.
Oh yeah. I haven't seen it, but I can see. Yeah, Queen Cali. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In the
That's why they called it the Wicked Witch of the West. So
okay. Yeah.
Even Wizard of Oz with the Wicked Witch of the West was really about California, Kali, the Queen Kali, who was from California.
Yeah, and even when the Europeans made their way to California, they said the Indians there, they looked just like Africans.
Yeah, I did see the movie Drathio. Yes, of course. Yep.
Yeah, and the thing is that we've always been here, and that's what one of the parables of the God of Wind. Like, we've always been here. They're like asking, where did he come from? And that's to kind of throw you off. Well, he's always been here, because Africa and North and South America were once connected together, and that's part of the whole Atlantis thing. And if you notice, I don't know if you've seen the original Planet of the Apes. It's been coming on TV again lately, but at the end of the movie, the main character is having a talk with the astronaut about human origins, and they were digging, and they were saying, well, humans were already here. And so when they let him go, him and Nova, they were riding the horse, and they're riding, and then they come across the Statue of Liberty, which is buried up to its shoulders, and that's when the main character realizes that he's on Earth. He thought he was in outer space somewhere, but it's been thousands and thousands of years, and that's another signal that you know that, okay, well, we're thinking we're from Africa, but we're from here, but we don't realize that.
Right. And see, here's the thing, is that, even so Drathio even pointed out why they call her wicked, because she wanted to help them read. So if
Yeah.
you've seen the movie Wicked, they made these goats and these animals, like she was connected to the animals even because she felt like she was, different, just like they were. And
Yeah.
in the movie, the Wizard of Oz was trying to enslave all the animals and take away their ability and put them in cages and make them not be able to speak.
Oh.
Like they would go back to bad and like
Yeah.
sounding like animals, right?
Yeah.
And the whole thing was that they were very intelligent. Wow. They were very intelligent creatures.
Mm-hmm.
They were teaching at some point. They were like the actual professors of the university, right? So then the Wizard of Oz was trying to use her ability to read the Grimoire, which is a book, like a wizardry book,
Yeah.
and to enslave them. So the first thing that they had her do is to put wings on monkeys and then try to use the monkeys as a way to surveil all the animals in Oz, and then take that surveillance and be able to find out where all the animals were that were teaching.
This is the new movie that just came out.
Yeah, that was actually Wicked. That was how deep Wicked was. Like Wicked is it's Grimoire. Grimoire spells French. Okay, so she was speaking. They believe everything in English. Okay, what's up? Says hey, what's up? The bar. But yes, so that movie was really about I don't even know. I think it was about like Kali, like that the Wicked Witch represented Kali that wanted to free the people but wanted to teach them how to read. However, like the Wizard of Oz was like trying to stop it and tried to use her to do that, and she said no. The Wicked Wizard of the West was like the East was like giving into it, and
Okay.
so there was like this whole battle, and that's where you get defying gravity and the whole thing. It was a deep movie. It was very interesting, like the actual.
I'm gonna have to watch it.
Oh, it's a lot of deep meanings. I think it's made by Disney. I'm not sure if Disney did that movie or not, but
Yeah.
Disney always tries to like throw some interesting things in.
Yeah. Another thing that I noticed about the latest King Kong and Godzilla movie was there's a scene where he's in the inner Earth or wherever he's from, and they come up to the surface, and they come up to the surface right outside the pyramids of Giza. I'm like, they're just putting stuff in your face, but you have to realize the information or the symbolism of the information that they're putting out in front of you. Because in the one post that you just read about the Mauritanian races, I have an image that I got from the Crescent magazine, and it's a map of the United States. And it has a obelisk on one side. It comes from the Crescent, the Shrine magazine, and there's a map. And at the top of the map are so-called Egyptians or black people, which is interesting, and they're facing east as opposed to west. And it has all this symbolism, but you have to understand or overstand, as Malachi Z. York says, what that imagery represents. Because they're trying to say the Indians were here, but they have the so-called Africans or Egyptians at the very top of the map of the United States. And you just have to think, well, what does that mean? What are they trying to tell you? And I just told you that, in the same magazine, I don't think it was the same copy, it's the same issue, but you have these Mason Shriners, white Masons and Shriners, sitting, taking a group photo, and some of them are wearing their fezzes with black face paint on. And that goes back to my topic title, Everyone or More by 2100.
Right. So are these like Indian release right here?
Yeah, from India, yeah.
Mm.
Those are in the cave paintings of Ajanta, Ajanta.
Mm.
And those were the how the Nazis say that the original Indians were so-called Aryans, but the Aryans those are basically the Aryans who were there with the original Indians, who were like the Negritos. They were like the little small black people, and that goes back to when the continents were together. That's you can call them Atlanteans or Lemurians or whatever, or descendants of them.
Mm. Listen, I really want you guys to go check out his YouTube page, Alvin Booth.
No,
A
Facebook page.
lot. I mean, sorry,
Facebook.
his Facebook. He has a lot of information on here about a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, and I tell people, y'all better copy it down before they just delete my whole page.
Yeah, they keep deleting this page because he's always putting really good information out there. You guys go check him out. His name is Alvin Booth. I mean, he puts out the real information, so
They dropped the bomb on.
alleged Native American scalp seized from auction house specialized in Confederate and memorabilia. So, like, he has a lot of stuff, but and his page is constantly getting taken down. Go on ahead and
they keep deleting just certain things.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm just going through your page to see, to show some of the stuff, that you have on there. So
Yeah, I have a lot. Like I used to put down the title of whatever book and the author, but it got to a point where I would put the information up there and people would tell me I'm still lying. So I'm like, well, you're not going to believe me anyway. So I just a lot of times I just put whatever information I find. And, with the technology, you can, Google it or find a site like I just quoted, archives.org. That's where I find a lot of my information from. The Library of Congress, Gutenberg.org. That's a book I just found recently on archive.org. And I just started reading that, but that's a good book.
yeah, so he does a lot of research. He does a lot of information. He has a lot of like just details,
Yeah.
But a lot of times, he's getting so get the information while it's still there before it gets taken down. He risks his platform on a regular basis.
Yeah,
I'm saying on a regular basis.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like no information is bad information. It is what it is. And you can find a keyword and then look for something else on top of that. That's what I do. I'll be looking at something, researching one subject, and I'll find something interesting, and then I'll just key in on that and open up another library for me. See, that's what I was telling you. Like, just maternity wards are closing.
Yeah. So listen, I really thank you for joining my podcast today. I don't like, I used to do like 2-hour live streams, but I realize now that people just have a short attention span. I want to keep it kind of short so that people can still retain the information. Yeah. I'm going through your page here. I mean, this is the stuff that you need to like be looking into, guys. Rather than looking in and ingesting all this like stuff that you get like kind of force fed, go to people like his page, friend Alvin Booth, and look at the information that he's putting out here. There's a reason why I'm on this channel, because I realized that it's not too many people that's just out here just just giving information.
One thing that you say to friend me, but there are a lot of agents out there, because I've had people to friend me, and then as soon as I post something, they're there. They're supposed to be Afrocentric, and they're the first ones to dispute what I'm saying. So I probably won't friend you, but just you can follow my page, because that's the thing. Like it seems like there's a certain amount of black people who are just tear my information down. And so I'm like, okay, well, that's cool, because I try not to, if I friend you, I try not to delete you. I don't care if you come on my page talking racist stuff. It's good because I'm always learning, from the racism. The truth is the truth. You either take it or leave it. So, but thank you for getting the information that I post out there.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. People tear down what they fear. Thank you so much, Jackie, for that. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining the panel this evening, Alvin. I really appreciate you.
And here's another thing, like we haven't talked about my post on the Divine Nine and the Boule.
Oh, the Boule, yeah. So you want to get into that real quick before we go?
Well, it's just keyword on my page, whatever, Divine Nine Boule, because there's a book I just got like earlier this year, and it was a black author, and she just goes in on the history of the Divine Nine. All of them are they were formed as they're eugenicists. They're basically like the Kanye song goes, black Nazis.
Wow.
And I have my sisters in AK, and two of my cousins are AKs also. But like I said, the truth is the truth. And that when I got that book, it shocked me because I've followed Steve Coakley for years, and what he says, he's passed on, but the stuff he talks about is basically in that book.
Mm.
That they're part of the the whole Margaret Sanger birth control thing too.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. I forgot the book. I just found it. I had it hidden somewhere, and I found it today. But I'm bad with names, so I forgot exactly the name of the book. But just go on my page or search for Divine Nine and the Boule. I post a lot of stuff on that. People are going to be mad at that because it's the Divine Nine and the Boule is like one of our sacred cows. And the HBCU too. I talk about that also.
Well, there's a lot to unpack on this page. I wanted to. Okay, so once again, you have a room full of Hispanic college students sharing one another as various groups mimic Moors, Divine Nine strolling and associated swag down the rap music. So
yeah, that's
like the Hispanic Divine Nine.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like a lot of Hispanics know the history of their culture, and a lot of them try to play dumb because Hispanic culture is nothing but Moorish culture.
Well, I'm definitely gonna have you back. I think this was a very great introduction to your content. Please go check his page out. It's Alvin Booth, Disco Revenge Dallas on Facebook. I think I'll put your thing in the chat.
We'll put that. I really don't post anything for the music on Facebook anymore, just because of the.
Well, that's the actual Facebook thing that comes up that find your content. So
So I have my Instagram for the music, for my DJ stuff.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah, but anyway.
Thank you guys so much for the ones that tuned in, the ones that came in and tuned out. Come back and do the replay. It's a lot of information on this live, and we're gonna bring Alvin Booth back because he's bringing the information, y'all.
And I just want to thank everyone for tuning in. Like, I don't hate people, try to say that I'm a hater. I'm a hater of black people. I'm a hater of white people. No, I'm just someone who loves information and trying to get it out there. So I thank everyone for tuning in, and go to my page and enlighten yourself. That's it.
Thank you. Ashe, thank you so much. It was a great show. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And peace.
All right, peace.
How come I show energy Darling, let your spirit be free. Don't give up, keep on pushing through. Now is the time, it's all up to you. Alchemize your energy, my friend. Let your spirit be free. Don't give up, keep on pushing through. Now is the time, it's all up to you. No matter the storm, but over tragedy. No matter the storm, but over tragedy. No matter the storm, we will always take flight. Keep on pushing through the darkness of night. There's no limit, let's reach for the sky. Shine so bright, from darkness to light.